Alright, so I'm ready to install these gauges for good. Everything's wired up. Let me show you what I got. It's pretty good. Alright, here we are, sans the steering wheel. It looks messy, man, I know it does, but it's organized chaos. So let me just briefly go over it. So if you recall, for GPS speedometer, we got the 4 typical gauges, fuel gauge and whatnot. So here's the specific harnesses for each of the 4 gauges back here. This wire connector is for the main power. These are electric gauges. These are for the lighting here. Comes with its own dimmer switch. Right here, I had to install there. On the speedometer, you got this lead that goes to the GPS antenna. It has to be visible through the window, through the straight up. So it should be good right there. If not, I can put it outside. It's waterproof. And we also got connectors for the blinker indicator lights that are on the speedometer. The one in the middle is for the brights, indicator for the brights, and the one on the right and left are for the indicators. We also got this. This goes to a power source, non-switched, constant. I guess it syncs up to the satellite quicker. It's like it keeps the memory going or something like that. It doesn't suck up juice from the battery hardly, so it won't leave you stranded with a dead battery. Well, that's what they tell me. So we're ready to shove it in there, and let's do it. Something's holding me up a little bit here. Maybe a hand back here. Oh, you know what it is? It's the air conditioning ducts here. There we go. Just got to raise that up a little bit. All right, just got to get some screws and attach it. And you'd think I'd have the screws I had earlier, but no. Those just walked away. And I find the older I get, the more stuff just walks away. Yeah, I'm turning into my old man, I guess. Alright, they're installed. So now I have to put the trim section with the other 2 gauges. Now, wiring wise, everything's really complete under the dash now. I don't have a radio yet, so there's a harness I made that's right there all set for when I get the radio. The switches, all that's wired. I just have to paint the console and put it back together. Alright, here we go. More of the same connectors for just the gauge power and the lights. And then this is specifically for the boost gauge. In this, I don't know why it's so weird, but this is the connector they have for the thermocouple for the EGT gauge. And the line is, you know, metallic. So, I don't know. Anyways. Alright. There it is. Back and in, and with the exception of the radio and the little box door, the dash is ready. Good night, Oliver. Strange thing is, every time I open or close this door, Dixie gets excited for some reason. I have no idea why. Alright, so enough of that. So wrapping up wiring. Finally. It all takes so much time. I knew the alternator was bad on this thing, so I just bought a new one. It's a GM 12SI. This is a 94 amp. I know it's a GM alternator. I know, but it's what was already on the engine when I bought it. They're good alternators. I'm going to use all 3 wires, 4 if you count the ground. The 1 wire thing is overrated. It works better when you use the Excite and the voltage sensing wires. They're there for a reason. You should use them. It's just 2 more wires. Not a big deal. So the Excite, that's what they call it, Excite. It's kind of exciting. It excites the alternator. It just goes to a switch 12 volt, okay? I just have it wired to the injection pump shut-off solenoid. It's 12 volt switched. Easy cheesy. Voltage sensing, so it senses the voltage from a remote location. So if there's any voltage loss in that length of wire, the charge wire, it'll make up for it within reason. So that's why you should do that. A lot of guys just have it going right to the main power stud, but that's just lazy. I have to change the pulley on this. Here's the old one, 7 rib. So I do have to put that on there. I do clean that up though. And get this thing on. So the other thing I wanted to show you was this. This goes in the back of the truck. It's a little power center. I like relays. And a relay is just a remote switch, really. So it's only a 12 volt system on vehicles. And it's not difficult to lose a few volts. Well, let's say it this way. If you lose 1.2 volts, which is 10% of 12 volts, even though the alternator is really putting out more like 14 volts, you're losing more than 10% of your output of whatever electric, whether it's lights or a motor or whatever. Less resistance equals less voltage loss. And your accessories will work better. I do that for the headlights, for example. So these are relays for the headlights. So your wire that normally the wire that normally goes from your switch to your headlights, you then use that to go to your relay to turn the relay on and off. And then I have a little distribution block right here, right there, okay? There's nothing connected to it yet because I haven't finished, but so just a short little stretch of wire from the distribution block to the relay, and then from the relay to the light. So there's minimal voltage loss. Lights work better. And probably more importantly on those old vehicles is you're taking the load off the switch. So whenever there's a catastrophic problem in electrical systems on these old vehicles, it can result in a fire. And so you're trying to avoid that. So not only are you getting better performance with a relay, you're also not going to catch your truck on fire or your car. Because that's bad. You know, I got a lot of time into this thing. It's also a good idea to carry a fire extinguisher in your vehicle for just such an emergency. My brother has a 61 Falcon, and fortunately he had a fire extinguisher on that, and he had to use it one time, and so minimal damage, and it could have been really bad if he didn't. So just a public service announcement to all hot rodders. Bring a fire extinguisher and keep it in the interior. It's a good idea. That's where the problem is the switches, the fuse blocks, and all of that. A lot of resistance. And the way these electrical systems are designed in the 60s and 70s, they were just good enough to get the job done. And you're running full load from like the distribution block, which in a Ford is usually the starter solenoid. So you're going from the alternator to that, and then the full load is going into the cab in this case, to the ignition switch. And then from the ignition switch to the light switch, and then from the light switch to the fuse block. At each point, you're losing voltage because there's resistance, and especially this stuff isn't new. And even if it was new, it'd probably be a cheap replacement, and there'd probably be a lot of resistance then too. So what you're doing is you're taking the load off the system by using relays. Maybe I'll do a separate video later about how to wire relays or something like that. But for now, I'm just telling you why I use relays. All right, so from that distribution block right there, I have an 8-gauge wire with a fusible link on the end, and I have that going to the back of the truck. So as I matriculate to the back of the truck, let me show you. Just above the rear axle, on this cross member up here on the bed, I'm going to have that little power center mounted. That's what these wires end up going to. I have these waterproof fuse blocks. There's another one. And waterproof relays. So these are going to be for the backup lights. It's probably a little overkill, but I got regular backup lights and the spotlights in the bumper. And then I'm going to have another one here for the running lights. But it's also going to be for the trailer lights, right? So it just, again, it's probably overkill, but my trailer lights will be nice and bright, okay? And then there's a third spot here for the same thing, and that's going to eventually be for the air compressor, for like airbags or whatever, or air horns, you never know, you know, train horns, Dixie horns. So it's pretty versatile though, because everything's going to be back there, ready to rock. Whenever I want to add something, I got the setup to do it. Alright, because nothing is ever easy. You see this little lug right there? It's not on any of the other sides, just that one spot. Well, because that lug is there, and the other alternator didn't have that lug on any side, it won't fit in my custom alternator bracket. The wire connectors are probably in the ideal location right now, but if I clock this 90 degrees this way, I think they'll still be in a decent position, and then this will be moved down there and it should work. Now when reclocking these, it's important that you take these 4 bolts off, right? And you could remove the back side. But the problem is there's all these brushes and stuff in there, and it's really hard to get together. So what you want to do is support the shaft. I got the old pulley holding it. And then you just want to drop this a little bit and turn it. So you have to take the pulley off. You know, I have it backwards here, but just to support this. So loosen the bolts, drop it just a little bit, and reclock it. Do not let the shaft from the back side come down, because then it's hard to put back together. Trust me, ask me how I know. So, got those 4 bolts out, and you have to tap it down just a little bit, and then spin it to win it. Just enough. There we go. So I should be able to put the 4 bolts back in there and have success, hopefully. And hopefully, my biggest concern now is that the wire connectors are in the right spot, because there's not a lot of room down there. Well, it's in, minus the pulley, because I gotta paint it yet. So that's done. It's wired up, ready to rock. Oh, remember how I told you that Dixie goes nuts whenever I open and close this door? What are you so excited about? What are you so excited about? Your ear, it's kind of got a little